morning, everyone. I just woke up a little bit ago. They made the announcement that breakfast is here, which is what woke me up. And I had to fill in my information on how I'm feeling, like my symptoms, if I have any, what my temperature is and stuff, on two different, like one on an app and then another one on a website that they gave us to put that information in for. We have to do that every morning. So now I'm almost fully awake, responding to messages, and gonna start editing yesterday's vlog soon after I eat breakfast and shower and stuff. So yeah, day number 2. Okay, so today is an extremely lazy day. I haven't left my bed at all, besides going to the bathroom and getting lunch. I was gonna get ready for the day earlier, like shower and stuff, but it didn't happen. I'll do that later, I think, I hope. Probably gonna take a nap after this. I'm watching another movie, watching Encanto now. I watched Don't Look Up earlier. That was something. I'm watching Encanto. Today is just, I don't know, just a very lazy day. But I mean, it's quarantine, you know, what else are you gonna do? Besides just lounge around all day, I guess. But yeah, I'm gonna start working on yesterday's vlog. I need to edit that and get it ready, so that's something that I will do also. But yeah, that's that. Alright, so I finally got around to showering, and dinner's here, so I just picked it up. So I'm gonna eat, and I don't know what I'm gonna do while I eat. Maybe I'll see what's on the news. Let's check out the news and see what's going on. Okay, so I want to take some time to explain what the process for getting back into Japan from the US looked like for me, because I realized I didn't actually explain that yet. So I want to kind of tell you what that was like. So basically, let's start with what it was like going from Japan to the US. So I needed to get a PCR test, a nasal swab PCR test, along with a certificate that showed proof of a negative COVID test. So if you don't have that, then you really can't do a whole lot of traveling in or out of Japan. So, or any at all, really, I think. So once I had the document and, you know, showed it to the people and whatnot, everything was normal as far as flying goes. Landing in the States, the US is pretty lax in terms of like airport, like quarantine security stuff. There is no real, at least from what I saw, there wasn't really any sort of an effort to like isolate people who had flown or anything like that from like certain countries. Maybe there are different measures in place if you come from a country that's being really rocked by COVID right now. I'm not sure, but it seemed like you just land and then you're good to go. So it was really easy getting into the States. No quarantine required at all. But coming back into Japan, it was a whole different story. And I knew that beforehand. I knew it was going to be a process. I knew it was going to be 2 weeks of quarantine before I could, you know, get back to my job and, you know, see friends or anything like that. So as far as airport stuff, I had to get another PCR test along with the certificate again stating that I didn't have COVID. And that was possibly the trickiest part, one of the trickiest parts of the whole process, because I'm not sure why, but it was really difficult to find a place that offered PCR tests along with a certificate. There were a number of websites that listed that as an option, but when you would call or try to get more information about it online, it would be like, oh, this isn't actually accurate, like we don't do this anymore. And that's partially because Omicron is going crazy right now, so there have been lots of changes in the last few weeks for some companies and whatnot. They've been like overrun with people wanting to get tests. Like there's been a huge influx of people trying to get tested, right? So I understand some things are a bit just all over the place, right? So yeah, it can't really be helped, I think. But on top of that, my personal experience, which was specific to me, not just like, oh, this is an issue with many different companies and many people run into this problem. For me, I had this issue with one company I chose to go with. I scheduled an appointment for one location. They do the COVID tests, this lab. They do the tests at a number of different pharmacies, and I scheduled my test to be at this one pharmacy that was maybe an hour from where I was at with my sister. I made the appointment, and then immediately they called me and were like, we need to change your appointment location because this location that you requested actually they don't do the tests on Mondays. It was a Monday, and they're like, they're actually closed on Mondays. So can we redirect you to this location, which was maybe like 20 minutes away from that location? And I was like, sure, that's fine. So we switched it to the other location, and he said, the guy on the phone said that you can just, pull up and, take the test, and like they'll be waiting for you at this time and whatnot, it'll be fine. That was not the case though. We drove to the other location and there's like no one there outside. I'm thinking you have to get the test outside, like they come to your car and swab you, because that's what it said on the website, but there was no one there on the outside, so I had to go in the store. And at the pharmacy, there's a couple guys in the back doing stuff, one of them being the pharmacist. And so I go there and I'm like, can I get the PCR test? I have an appointment, I have a reservation. Told him my name and everything, and he's like, he had no idea what I was talking about, who I was. He had no information at all from the other pharmacy. So I was like, okay, here's the location. I called them at this time, or I made the appointment at this time, and blah, blah. He emailed them and was waiting for them to get back to him before he could help me, but it was taking a while because they're busy, they're doing stuff, so the other location wasn't emailing him back quickly in a timely manner. So I was just kind of wandering around the store, killing time. My sisters are in the car waiting for me because this whole thing was supposed to take like 5 minutes. That's what was advertised on the website. They're like, come in, get your test and go, and we'll email you the results in a few hours. It's a 5-minute process. It only takes 5 minutes. It took like, I would say, a good 30-40 minutes, which really isn't long. Like there are worse things to complain about, but it was just not what I was told, not what was advertised to me, So eventually the other location emails the guy and they're like, okay, this is blah blah, and in order to get like the bank transactions transferred over or something, I forget exactly what he was trying to explain, because he was really soft-spoken in like the back of the pharmacy, and I have like I'm hard of hearing a little bit, so I was like, what? I kept having to ask him to repeat himself. I don't really understand what he needed to do this for, but he needed to send the confirmation email that I got from the other location to himself. So he took my phone and forwarded that email to himself, and somehow it helped with like the payment stuff or something, I don't know. So also it was $160 for that PCR test, which I've heard some people have said, wow, that's super expensive. Others have been like, wow, I can't believe you had to pay at all, when I've told people about this, because it's apparently not something that everyone has to pay for. In different countries, some people can get it for free. Even in the US, some people are like, we get it free in this state. And I'm like, well, I know there's like multiple different kinds of COVID tests. Mine's specifically a PCR test that also comes with a certificate stating that you don't have COVID. I know that sometimes, at least from what I've seen and researched, like that's kind of the kicker for some of the things, for some of the locations, where you can get tests. Like if they do offer the certificate thing, then it ups the price by a significant amount. But I'm not really sure on that whole thing. But either way, so I paid previously before I went to the location. I had paid online. He took the test, he got the swab, and then we left. And then they said you should get results within 24 hours. So I was supposed to get them by 2 o'clock the next day. And 2 o'clock the next day came, and there was no email, no nothing from them. So I called them around 5 and was like, hey, my flight is tomorrow. Well, I tried to call them, but they didn't pick up. That was the thing. I called that number so many times, but no one ever picked up. I emailed the pharmacist because I had his email address in my phone from when he sent himself the confirmation email from the lab or from the pharmacy. So I emailed him, like panicked, like this is an emergency. My flight leaves at 7 something tomorrow morning. I need to know what the result is. I need the certificate and stuff. I called the pharmacy itself. No one picked up from the pharmacy. So I'm calling like the lab that I made the appointment through. They were the first people I was trying to call, and it just kept ringing over and over and over. Then I tried the pharmacy, and they wouldn't pick up either. And so then I emailed the pharmacist. It wasn't until like maybe 2 or 3 hours later that, I'm still calling the lab throughout this time, just calling over and over and over. They finally pick up, and they're like, we don't have a record of your appointment, of your reservation. And I'm like, I made it at this time for this location. I have the confirmation email. And so they're like looking into it, and they end up calling. It was such a mess. This is such a huge like tangle of disaster. They called the location that I made the original appointment at, the initial appointment, and they found out that they didn't actually transfer my reservation to the other pharmacy, which is why the pharmacist was like, I don't know who you are when I went to go get my test. He's like, what? I don't have a record of this, right? So because of that, they were just kind of like, I think, sitting on my swab. They weren't running the test yet, I think, because what she said was I had to call again later, I think, and she said like, yeah, the test failed or something, and so they have to run it again. And I'm like, how does a test fail for like something like this? Like, maybe it happens. I don't know. I don't know how these things work, but it was just super fishy to me that it failed and they needed to do it again. It seemed like they were like, oh, just tell him that it failed because we forgot or didn't realize we had to run this test because we don't have a record of him or something. It was just weird. But they ran the test eventually, and they got the results. And by this point, it's like 10 at night, like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and I'm like panicked because I'm supposed to have this email, and it's just not coming through. So I'm like, what's happening? And they're like, the woman on the phone's like, they said they emailed you the results. I'm like, I have nothing from them. I've checked like my spam folder, there's nothing there. And so she gets my email address and calls them again, and they realize that they spelled my email address wrong. So they sent out the email at like 11 at night or something. I got it, and the test was negative, so I was good. And that was all before I even got on a plane. So the next morning I get on the plane, which I find out has been moved up 2 hours because I misread an email about the changed flight times. It was a whole thing, but basically my flight was leaving at 5 4:30 the next morning, not 7:30. So, but we get there on time. I go to get on the flight. I have to give them the certificate, and the women at the check-in counter are like looking at it like, what's up with this? I'm like panicked, like, what's wrong with it? Because if it doesn't work, like if it's the wrong kind of certificate or something, then I can't get back into Japan. So I'm panicked because they're like, they're confused and they're like asking each other like, what's this? Like, he doesn't have this thing, but it has this thing, and I don't know. But eventually someone was like, oh, it's fine because it has this. And so they're like, okay. They let me on through. But I had to pay extra for my bag because it was over by 8 pounds, which was, I bought a lot of omiyage, which is like, kind of like not souvenirs, but like gifts from whatever place you go to. Like if you go to, in Japan, if you go to Hokkaido up north, then you'll get some things from Hokkaido, like some kind of like little snacks that are special to Hokkaido or something to give to, your friends or like family or something. So I got some omiyage for my coworkers and my students, but the suitcase was over by 8 pounds, so I had to pay extra for it because of those things, as well as some just like personal things I bought, like lotion and like toothpaste and stuff. It upped the weight to over 50 pounds. It was 58 pounds, so I had to pay extra for it, which was annoying. But it was fine. I went through security and everything and got to my gate and it was fine. I had a connecting flight in Dallas, and so I got to Dallas, and when it came time to check in and go through everything there, it was the same thing with the little certificate. They're like looking at it like, what is this? And I'm like, what's wrong with the certificate? Like it says everything it's supposed to say in order for me to get into the country. Like, I don't understand what the problem is. But they looked confused and kept having to ask each other about it and stuff and whatever. But it was fine. I got onto the plane. Okay, eventually. The flight was really long. I mean, it wasn't super long. It's no longer than it usually is, but it just felt extra long this time. We got into the country. Everyone had to sit down and like wait, and they kind of ushered people out in groups off the plane. And when they got to me, I ended up being one of the last people to leave the plane, and we all lined up and waited for a while in like the hallway that you walk on before you get on the actual plane. Like that hallway, we were standing there for a good, I don't know, 10 minutes maybe, and it was really cold. It was so cold, I remember, because it snowed. It like never snows in Tokyo, but it snowed the day I flew in, naturally. So we eventually moved to this other section. Basically, long story short, there was lots of waiting. There was a lot of lines, and we took another PCR test. I had to show the PCR certificate again, and they were confused and like, kind of like, well, they weren't panicked, but I was panicked. But it ended up being okay. We had to install these apps. Let me see if I can show you. Or just one app actually. I had to install this app. How do I get this to work? Like, maybe like this. If I do this. There we go, yeah. Okay, so this red app here is called Mysos. I don't know what it stands for, I forgot what it means, but we had to download that, and we have to like do a video call, answer like a video call every day, and like check in, just show that our location hasn't changed, that we're not leaving the hotel because we're in quarantine, right? So that was one of the things we had to do in the airport after landing. We had to make sure we had this, and people had to check our phones and all this stuff. It was a lot. Fill out all these documents, lots of documents to fill out. From when I landed on the plane to when I arrived at this hotel, it was 7 hours that had gone by. It took so long. It was exhausting. We were starving. It was a lot. But we made it. My 3 days are almost finished. Tomorrow's the last one. And then the next day I get to leave, I believe is how it works. So I'm looking forward to that. However, apparently someone on my flight had COVID and I may have been sitting near them. So I might have to finish out the quarantine at a different hotel. I'm really hoping that doesn't happen. Hopefully I get to go home for the rest of the quarantine because I don't want to be in a hotel anymore. But yeah, that was the process of flying back and forth between America and Japan. If COVID is still a thing next year and we're still having to do stuff like this, I'm not gonna go home for Christmas. I'm just gonna stay here in Japan because it was worth it to see my family this time because I didn't get to go home last year. So I think it was worth it, but I wouldn't do it again next year. I'll just wait till things get better. But yeah, so that's that. So I'm back in my bed as always. I feel like I just finished editing yesterday's vlog and I'm uploading it now to YouTube. So that will go live in probably 10-ish minutes, and I'll like post about it so people who follow me can go and watch it, hopefully. And yeah, I'll wrap this one up soon, this current vlog for today, and I'll edit that one tomorrow, and I think that's gonna be the thing. I'm gonna edit and upload for the vlog of the day before and try to stick to that kind of schedule. I'm not sure if I'll get off track. Like I might end up missing a few days and have to like lump a bunch together. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully I can stick to, you know, a vlog a day and upload a day, I guess. But yeah, we'll see. So that's where we're at right now. It's definitely day 3, and I totally forgot last night to sign out. So yeah, it's 6:30 the next morning, and I'm about to start vlogging for today. But I have to do an official sign out thing. So that's the end of today's vlog. Catch me in the next vlog. Goodbye.